need any alien landholding licenses. You don't need to pay any stamp duty or property taxes. 6 bedrooms on the beach, 12,000 square foot on almost 1 acre of land in the middle of Holetown, which turns circa $2.5 to $3 million a year in rental revenue. It's huge and untapped. Well, I think a lot of people enjoy visiting Barbados, you know, and it's like, you know, well, but this it's a big step it's a big step from visiting here versus let's invest here.
Yeah.
You know, so like you come and have a holiday,
of course.
you pay your rates, you have a great time with the family, holiday is over, and then you go back home, and that's it. No ongoing commitment.
Yeah.
Right.
But my question on that is, when you go home after several holidays here, so you've been 2, you've been 3 times, and you go home, and you know what life's like in Europe, you know, it's relentless, and it doesn't really change, and the weather's pretty bad, and the taxes are really high, and everything's just relatively negative. But you always have those memories. So then you start to think to yourself, hold on, I can work out how much I pay every year, I come, I bring the family. And then you think to yourself, it makes a lot of sense to me to come and invest somewhere here. But what I don't know is I'm missing the gaps as to, is it easy?
Yeah, exactly.
Do I need an expert? Am I going to ever get my money back? Will it cost me? Like all these things. And I think that's the surprise that people have when they realize it's relatively straightforward and it's an incredible investment.
A lot of people don't know. You know, why would you? It's a potential acquisition in a different country. In some cases, you know, 3,000-4,000 miles away. So, but people are generally very surprised at how easy it is to buy property here. You don't need any alien landholding licenses. You don't need to pay any stamp duty or property taxes. It's literally your legal fees, and that's it.
Yeah.
And legal costs here will range between 1 to 2%. So, as a buyer, your transaction costs are extremely low when compared to other destinations throughout the Caribbean and other, you know, countries in general. I think what a lot of people need to be advised on is value. I think, you know, when someone is looking to make a purchase here, there's mainly 2 things that will kind of, how should I say, 2 main concerns. Am I buying at the right price?
Yeah.
And how much is this going to cost me going forward?
Yeah.
So,
what are your ongoing costs?
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So what am I committing to for the next 5, 10, 15 years? You know, and that's where you need someone on the ground that you trust, that knows the market well enough to give you access to real data, you know, and historical transactions, and of course guide you through the process in terms of, you know, detailed, accurate information on running costs and what your rental returns can look like.
Yeah.
And so luckily, you know, on the first point, which is value, we've had enough transactions in the last 6 years post-COVID, where it's a lot easier than it was before to determine where values sit at the moment. So prior to 2020, 2021, you know, it was kind of like you would see, say, price reductions anywhere from, say, 7 to 10% on list. Now you're getting maybe 3% on list. It's because people are buying a property in a different country. They want to feel, I guess they want to feel the love. You know, they're getting a deal.
Right.
You know, fair enough. And so there've been enough transactions that have happened where I think you can gauge the market quite easily once you have access to that data. Then you can compare what's currently on the market and see where values sit. But again, it's still down to that rapport and that trust with the agent that you're working with. So, you know, I was approached several years ago by another company to become a property finder, you know, source properties in Barbados. I said, well, I kind of already am doing that. You know, that is what we do. So you'll tend to find that most people that visit Barbados looking for property, although they have the option to work with multiple agents, they'll tend to work with the agent that they feel most confident with, and you know, where they feel like their interests are also being looked after.
It's relationship driven, isn't it, for sure? But you need to have somebody on the ground that fully understands the market, how the market's changed, what it was like before, and what's happening. More importantly now, what is the plan for Barbados moving forward?
Well, the plan for Barbados moving forward, I think, is, you know, if you look at what's happened over the last, say, 5 years, thereabouts, I mean, we've had improvements made all around in terms of real estate, in terms of finance, in terms of infrastructure. And there are no plans of easing that up either. I think Barbados has always kind of defined itself as the hub of the Caribbean, starting with our Airlift. And now we've got more hotels coming in, we've got more construction going up, new condos, new villas coming onto the market. And the market generally, which was always focused St. James, St. Peter, is now spreading further north, spreading further south.
Yeah.
And it's been quite nice to see how before it was just kind of like everyone wanted to be in Holetown. Sandy Lane, Holetown, Westmoreland, that was it. Then with Port St. Charles came around, that kind of started pushing development further north. Now we have Pendry going up there and a bunch of other developments coming as well. But then it's also happening in the other direction, south. So with the Pearhead project in Bridgetown, with Aspire and Allure in Brighton, again, locations that no one would ever consider buying in, say 10 years ago, just because no one was buying there to begin with. So, and now if you look further south beyond Bridgetown, you have a lot of new developments coming up on the south coast. You have places like Coverley, which are large-scale residential communities as well, with all the amenities you could think of.
Sure.
So it's not just catering to the super wealthy that want to be on Sandy Lane or want to be on the beach in Holetown.
There's something for everybody.
Something for everyone, yeah.
There's
for
a
sure.
price point for everybody here, which I think is quite surprising for people that, especially our clients based in Europe. I think when we obviously advertise our big estate homes, so we have like properties at 25 million, 15 million, and I think some people think, oh yeah, so Barbados is a glamorous location, it's out of my price point, but last week, we've been touring what Americans would know as condos, apartments. You can buy something within any price range relatively here, can't you? And you would just adjust your location accordingly, right?
Yeah, it gives you a lot of flexibility and option here. But I think the beauty in that is not only is there something for most people, it makes it a very attractive market to be in.
Yeah.
Because if the market cap is so high, you know that values here will sustain over a long period of time.
Right.
So there's certain islands where record sale would be $7 million. In Barbados, we have listings at $75 million.
Yeah.
So it's a well insulated and protected market from that perspective. So when talking values, we will help you with values as your trusted advisor on island. We will help you understand where you should position your offers and what you can expect over the next, say, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in terms of where prices can potentially go. And then, of course, can advise you on ongoing running costs, rental yields, if that's important. I mean, to be honest with you, a lot of people that come to Barbados, their primary objective is never to, we're going to invest and make a great return on investment. It's not about ROI and capital appreciation, although those things are very important. It's more about, right, this is what we want from a lifestyle perspective. And it can pay for itself, and it can also pay for my flights over, and it could, in some cases, deliver a good net
Yes,
ROI.
of course.
But typically, people are driven by the fact that they want to be here, and Barbados has been that place for decades.
Yes.
So.
It has a lot to offer. I mean, Barbados, yes, you've got the incredible beaches, you've got the lifestyle where you can decompress and you can really feel at one when you come here. You just feel like, I feel complete. I land and I feel at home, I feel the welcome. But more than that, if you've had that week or two to chill out and you want a bit of activity, Barbados can offer, like I 2 weeks ago went horse racing.
You had pudding and
On
sauce.
Saturday I'm going horse racing again. I've had pudding and sauce. Might not have that again, but anyway, I've tried the local dish.
There you go.
And you can go off-road biking and
everything.
Everything.
Ultimate.
Polo.
Yeah, I mean, I think people come here because it feels relaxed. They feel welcome, they feel relaxed immediately. That's number one. There's enough to do. You've been here for 2.5
Maybe
weeks.
3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, and you've made friends easily. People are open to speaking and wanting to have a conversation. Just happy to meet someone else who's a in just another person from the UK or another person from Canada, someone that they can relate to.
It's really international.
Yeah, correct. And I guess the interesting thing is that if you were back in the UK and you saw the same person, chances are they wouldn't talk to you.
Of course.
But in Barbados they will.
100% different culture.
Yeah.
The weather brings out the best in people here.
Well, people are happier generally in good weather, and here especially,
But the culture too, it's really genuinely coming from the heart, and you feel that. People are, and I actually had this conversation, so we have family over here, and we were having a conversation about the difference in people. When you're pent up and frustrated in Europe, there's an element of, yes, the rat race brings a lot
Two totally
out,
different people.
but it's very different here.
I have met clients in Barbados, and I've met them in their home country.
Yeah,
Completely different people.
Yeah.
Very tense, very wound up. I mean, I think what it's probably a good point. I mean, what people feel when they're here is, yes, sense of relaxation, peace, serenity, but all of that's also very good for your overall well-being. Don't know how to describe it, but obviously if you're feeling good in your environment, it just has an overall positive effect on your overall well-being. You have, and if you're coming here with your family, it's a great way to spend family time as well.
Of course it is.
And connect with your spouse or your kids or your friends if you're coming as a group.
Yeah, of course.
And I think what's also interesting is that a lot of people tend to be concerned about running costs.
Yeah.
Well, most people that are buying here will probably spend, on average, between 6 weeks to 3 months.
Okay.
There are some that will be here for 6 months of the year, but the beauty is, even with 6 months usage, personal use, you can still rent it enough to cover your costs. Why?
So your rental is covering the overhead that your property takes.
Yes, exactly.
And then you're coming, but you're no longer spending the price of your family holiday. And on top of that, you've got the uplift that your property is creating year on year.
With no capital gains tax.
With no capital gains tax.
Yeah.
Now that brings me on to, we've talked about like the idealistic side of living in Barbados. It's beautiful, it's a gorgeous country, people welcome you, the environment is just perfection. But let's not lose sight of the fact that what does it really take to invest here? What is the infrastructure? What's the medical like? What's the education like? What are the general living here? What's it really like? Because we're not on holiday, we're investing our money into property, and I feel like that's what people really want to know.
Yeah, so it's stable governance. We have a very, very good Prime Minister in power, but we've generally always had a very stable government in Barbados, so stability. We have all the main banks here, Canadian banks, very risk adverse, so again, good banking in Barbados, so the banking works.
Yeah.
We have excellent internet here.
Yeah, right, we do.
I actually had a client that came over from Costa Rica, and he was shocked at the fact that we have 5G. I'm like, what, do you guys not have 5G in Costa Rica? No, we have 3G. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh. Yeah, I mean, so you imagine for people that are going to be working here remotely, internet's a huge thing,
Yeah.
The literacy rate here is very high. We have 98% literacy rate, which means that people here are well educated and educated enough to be able to work and deliver at a certain level in terms of service and whatever else. So you have a very well educated workforce, which means that service levels here are high.
Service is exceptional everywhere you go.
Yeah.
From hospitality to retail,
Yes.
to food and beverage, to the hotels, to everywhere. The hospitality is just beautiful.
And beyond that, Barbados is generally very flat, and the roads here are pretty good in most cases, not all, in most cases.
But you'd expect it in other places. So when I went to visit family, I may have visited some slightly off-road roads. And I love that. It's authentic. I'm here in the Caribbean. I'm not expecting to be on a freeway all the time. So where the roads need to be good, they're good.
The roads are, look, I mean, my point was traversing this island is very, very easy. Nothing is far. You can be on the west coast and on the south coast and on the east coast within half an hour, 45 minutes. It's a very easy island to get around. So nothing is far. So accessibility is super great. And it's good when you have so many different restaurants and golf courses and places to see and things to do. It's good to be able to get around quickly. I mean, I say that because I've been to some other islands where they can be very mountainous. The roads can be quite difficult to traverse. And so you tend to just stay stuck in one location, whereas in Barbados you can be on the north enjoying the cliffs at Animal Flower Cave, or you can be on the south enjoying the, you know, the waves and the greenery and the nature on that side of the island. So you can have a full day going around the island and experience all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what else? I mean, great drinking water, excellent airlift.
Education as well.
Great education. So, you know, so it's a really unique combination of everything in one spot, really. And I think that's why people find Barbados to be pretty special. And then they keep coming back, they make friends, and then they share their experiences together. And you know, it's contributed to what is a very robust real estate and rental market.
Yeah, it is. It's a year-round rental market as well.
Well, back to the rentals side of things. I mean, it's really I think Barbados is a boutique offering. You know, it's not like other countries where you've got, say, 30,000 Airbnbs all competing. You know, we're not like that. You know, so you know that if you are going to buy a property in any category, whether it's an apartment, a townhouse, a villa, it doesn't make a difference. You know you're going to get the occupancy levels at a certain point enough to more than cover your costs in most cases. In fact, some people, not all, but some people do go, well, you know, do I really want to rent my property when I'm not, you know, when I'm not using it?
Yeah.
You know, it's my house. I don't want the people in there.
Yeah. What's your view on that?
Well, my view is, why wouldn't you? Why would you have a good asset sitting down earning nothing in a market where, you know, rentals and holidays are our business. Tourism is our business. That's what we do. You know, so you're in a boutique environment, a boutique market, yeah, at good, you know, very good rates, good occupancies, you know, and why not take advantage of that? Couple that with the fact that you have excellent rental companies available and property management companies available.
Yeah, the property management side of the business here is exceptional. I mean, I have experienced it myself, and I feel like that's something that people really need to understand, that, you know, your property, your home, whilst yes, it's an asset and we're talking about the finance side of it, but it's still something you've fallen in love with and it feels like your home. It's really taken care of. And there's something I've really noticed so much about Barbados is the immaculate way that grounds are kept, the pride. You won't find a piece of litter anywhere in Barbados, and if it is, it's drifted off in the wind somewhere and it's just crept out of someone's bag, because properties are really taken care of in an exceptional way. Staff are uniformed and people take pride, and you know, I want people to realize that when they're renting their home out, they're not needing to worry about someone coming to stay and something happening. It's going to be just the way it is when you left it as to when you come, because pride is taken on receiving the owners back into the property again, isn't it?
Yeah, and also generally people here want you to have fun, have a good time. You know, big part of our business has been our concierge. You know, the concierge that we operate, they manage everyone's experience, you know, and so, you know, the experience becomes primary, the villa becomes kind of secondary. You know? We can find you, if you want a 3-bed with a pool on the beach, that's easy to find, you know, but if you want to have a concierge that's going to look after your every need from the minute you touch ground and be part, you know, we can make that happen.
A catamaran trip, or you might want to go to the rum distilleries, or you might want to go to the polo or the racing or playing golf. Your tea time could be booked, your restaurant reservation could be booked, your boat tour can be booked. It's literally like every whim and every dream that you have to experience in Barbados will be taken care of.
100%. So I guess, you know, the key takeaways are, you know, there's something for everyone here. You know, price points are still very competitive when compared to other, you know, global destinations. We have a robust rental market which ensures costs can be covered. We have a good track record in terms of real estate transactions and history with real estate in general, off-plan development, resales, etc., which means that it is a good market to invest in. Price points and caps on price are very high, so you know that does also secure investment as well. And you know, with initiatives like the Welcome Stamp, it has attracted a lot more people to the island, which means that it's opened up new markets and more eyes to the island, which is why you're seeing development spreading further beyond the, how should I say, the known areas that have been well established for decades.
Can we go into the welcome stamp a little more? So for people that have never thought about Barbados, because I specialise particularly in the Eastern Caribbean, and different countries have different residency or citizenship by investment. And here in Barbados, we have the welcome stamp. And if you haven't thought about investing in Barbados before, and you're like, well, what is the welcome stamp and how would that benefit me? Could we just go over those points?
Yeah, so welcome stamp allows you to effectively come here and work and live. You don't get citizenship because Barbados has never been a place that just gives citizenship away. We've been very protective with that because we just don't want to let everyone in. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just, if you look at a lot of citizenship programs that have been operated around the world and throughout the Caribbean, it does invite a few unwanteds, and Barbados has just always wanted to protect what we have. But the welcome stamp was a great initiative to get people to live here during a time when there was no tourism and no travel. So, when we went through the pandemic, etc., government was very quick and smart to move with a program that would invite people to live here, and therefore that means more people on the island, more people spending money on the island, which helps. That really did help to support the community. And getting the welcome stamp was pretty straightforward. You have to demonstrate that you're earning $50K per year USD. You sign up online, you pay the fee, $2,000 US, and you're able to come here and live and work. So
you don't require a visa every time you're coming in and out of the country once you have the welcome stamp?
Typically, if you weren't on the welcome stamp, you can stay for 3 months. And if you were going to apply for a further extension, you could stay another 3 months. But with the welcome stamp, you stay for the entire year. If you want to renew, you can. So it works really well. So well that we still run the program as an island, and it's now leading into people who have generally been here on the welcome stamp have now decided that this is home. So they've now gone on to purchase property.
Okay, that's a great way of being able to come and spend some time on the island. And you've got to feel what the country's like. You've got to also know what area you feel comfortable in. Each area almost has a personality, doesn't it?
You get a chance to try all of them. And I think that's another interesting aspect, because usually when you go to a country where some countries you visit once and you go, I love it, that's it, I want to be here. But you don't know where you're going to invest. So you think, I'm going to come here and stay for 4 weeks and try every coast out. So if you come here on the welcome stamp, you can stay for 1 year and try the entire island out. You can live in different places, different parts, and you really get a good feel. And so, it's really had an incredible knock-on effect on the market here, because I would say 6 out of 10 people that we've had here on welcome stamp have actually stayed and gone on to buy property.
Well, it gets under your skin, and then you're like, I can't do without this. I need to have this a part of my life. And that's what we really help people to do, is find out what do they want from a property. First of all, do you love Barbados? They get that when they come here. They obviously need to understand their finances, and we can talk them through every part of that, from introducing them to notary or conveyancing.
We handle everything. The minute you make an inquiry, we've got the bank connections, we've got the insurance connections, we've got the builders, the architects, the interior designers. So it's one-stop shop, really.
But then it's understanding their personality. Do they have children? Do they want to come for the summer, for the winter? And we can find out what area would suit them. And I guess our advice is to come and rent here in the island, rent in the west coast, the south, go up to the north, just experience the different parts and feel what's your heart saying, how do you feel? And we have properties in every single parish.
Yes.
So try it out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Why not?
I have a question. So obviously, there's a long history with Europe and Barbados, and specifically the UK, but we're talking really internationally anyway with Barbados. What would you say people would notice differently now purchasing in Barbados than they would have done 10 years ago?
More option and availability. Newer builds. There's a lot of new construction. I would say a lot more to do. Yeah, and probably more familiarity with an expat community that's established and living here. I would also say schools. Providence and Codrington have been around for a long time, but we've now got Marilena, which is a new school just here in Gibbs. It's top notch, and so we're also attracting. it's attracting younger families. So I think one of the biggest changes that we've seen is that the age demographic here for the person that typically would buy in Barbados has changed substantially. Whereas before it was kind of like mid 50s to mid 70s, retired, semi-retired people that just want to have a holiday home. Now you've got people in their late 20s going into their early 40s who've chosen to settle here and have raise a family here. So you're seeing a younger demographic of people living here, expat community-wise. So I would say that would probably be one of the biggest changes. Oh, and banking as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Barbados is fantastic if you have a passion for golf. And, there's a lot of options here for people that love golf. And we've got a lot of property across golf courses here in Barbados. Maybe we could give a little bit of an insight into what it's like to invest in a home on a golf course here and the fees involved. And, generally not necessarily specific fees, because obviously depending on when someone sees this, things might change, but generally what it's like to purchase a home on a golf course.
Well, one thing I would say is that buying a house on a golf course means that you have excellent surroundings. Everything is manicured and kept really well. It is kind of it is essentially a private members club. So being able to be on a golf course, being able to have a house on a golf course doesn't come without cost. Standard, but it's almost like you're part of an elite club. And golf is a big pull. It's a great way to meet people. It's a good way to do business. And of course, we've got fantastic weather for it. And most of the golfing communities and residential estates on the island also come with an array of amenities and facilities in one location. So that's also pretty good. The idea being, it's not just a golf course, it's a family resort. So, whilst you might be out on the golf course, your family are enjoying the pool or enjoying the restaurants or enjoying the gym or whatever. So you'll tend to find places like Westmoreland and Sandy Lane, they've got their clubhouses, they've got their beach clubs, they've got their tennis, their paddle, their gyms. So you get a lot more than just a golf course with a golf estate or golf community.
And also as well, the other factor too is that from a rental perspective, you've got a lot more options with being able to market your property as, well, one, it's in Barbados, and two, the fact that you've got the whole golf community that want to come. And it's a year-round sport here, isn't it,
100%. But it's a case of with a golf. So if you buy a beachfront home, you're on the beach. That's what you want. If you buy on a golfing community, you have everything. If you want the beach, you have the beach club. If you want the golf, you have the golf course.
Nowhere's far from anywhere. I love that. No. It's almost like a saying here in Barbados, isn't it? You just sort of say, oh, where do you live? Oh, how far? And they go, nowhere's far in Barbados. And it's so true. If you want to be near the beach, you're near the beach. If you want to be up in the middle of the country, it's 35 minutes, 40 minutes maximum. So it's amazing.
Yeah, so you get, I think you've been here, you've experienced it for yourself for an extended period of time, and I'm sure it's making a lot more sense now.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I feel like it would be really great for people to be able to know that purchasing in Barbados is a relatively straightforward procedure. And everything can be taken care of you. You don't need to worry about the fact that it's in a very different jurisdiction to what you live in. Yeah. So maybe we can just reassure people.
Procedure is very simple. It's super straightforward. Our legal system is based on the Westminster system. All the attorneys, they will look after and do their due diligence. So the actual purchase process is super straightforward. It's your diligence, your due diligence on acquisition. That's where the work needs to be done. Where you need to be safe, you need to feel safe and secure that you're making the right decision. And so the only way to do that is, one, you have to be forced to come here and have a holiday and spend at least a week looking around.
Terrible situation to be forced to come to Barbados.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to experience the restaurants during the days that you're doing viewings so that you can try the different places and get a feel for where you want to be. And compare prices. And I think people have to sing. I mean, look, we toured about 15 properties with one client. And by the end of their viewing visit, if you want to call it that, they had a better handle on the market than most people that live here.
Yeah, of course.
But it's a process. It's and in most cases, that's what most clients tend to do. That being said, recently we have had clients that will see something online or see a new project launch and think, well, you know what, for example, let's look at something like Bijou, 4 beds, opposite the beach, entry level price 1.8 million, 2,600 square foot of living space with all the amenities close to Holetown. Some people just look at that and go, wait a minute, that's not too expensive. It's right opposite the beach by Lone Star. It's going to rent well, and I'll make 25 to 30% uplift when it's completed in 18 months. In cases like that, some people might actually take the plunge without seeing it. But in most cases, people want to come here and see for themselves. But we are starting to see more people buy into off-plan projects, sight unseen.
There's a lot of conflict going on in the world, and there's a lot of uncertainty. And when you've got capital that you've grown and you're looking to diversify your assets, the Caribbean is a really good option to be able to put that money. And I think what would be really nice is for us to just be able to simplify and tell people the process when they're thinking, I think I want to buy in the Caribbean, what does that look like? And I think just a few minutes to be able to say from the very moment we would literally invite them and pick them up from the airport, what that process looks like. So picking them up from the airport, and then what do we do with them?
Pick them up from the airport, well, settle them in, give them a day or two to kind of just relax and get into adjust to their environment, so to speak. We'll typically take people out for a day or 2 or 3, usually 3 days of viewings. Arrange second viewings, sunset viewings, and get to a point where we can sit and say, well, look, here's our short list, what do we want to go for, make an offer. Once an offer is submitted and agreed, it's with the attorneys. Then very similar to the UK, it's 10% on exchange of contracts, balance paid on completion, 3-month process generally, and that's it. I mean, you appoint a local attorney, you pay their fees, you don't pay any stamp duty, you don't pay any transfer tax, you don't pay any agent's fees as a buyer. All those costs are borne by the seller. And so usually I'd say if someone's coming to Barbados to buy a property, you really want to give it at least 5 to 7 days minimum so you can adjust, view, consider, make a decision. If you are thinking about getting bank finance, we can introduce you with to some lenders that we work with, both commercial and private. You get a chance to meet with your attorney face to face as well, which is great. If you're buying into something that might require some work, you have a chance to meet with builders, architects, interior designers, all of which we can pull together as well. So yeah, that's typically the buying process. But touching on what you said earlier about uncertainty in the world, etc., etc. Barbados is a very good consideration for wealth preservation for sure, which is why we will see people making those calls to buy sight unseen, because they want to put their money into a place that's safe and secure. And of course, people always want to know what the tax situation is in Barbados. It's not tax free here, but it is very much tax friendly when compared to other jurisdictions. So our corporate tax rate is capped at 9%, and that works really well for a lot of people.
Great. So we've had clients that have been coming to us and they're looking for what they call a value add. So they want to be in Barbados. They don't want necessarily a turnkey residence. They want to be able to put their stamp on it. And really they're looking for some value. So they're thinking, I want to buy a little bit below market. I think I know what I'm doing. I'm going to increase it a little bit. I'll stay in it a year. And then I look to make some money. Is that possible here?
Of course. That's what I think has made Barbados such a good market. There's always been room for uplift, especially when you buy in certain locations like Sandy Lane, West Coast beachfront. Anything that's say 10 or 15 years old, generally would need updating. And so, people will pay a premium for works already done. I mean, so if you find something that's a bit dated or maybe a distressed sale, where you can, put maybe say 10, 15, 20% capex back into the property, it's gonna realize a very good valuation when done. And renovations here can be turned around depending on scale, anywhere from say 3 to 9 months. Of course, if you're building out of the ground, you have to get planning permission. That can take 6 to 9 months, and if you're, from the ground up, maybe another 12 months to build a new house. But that being said, just look at the amount of developers that we've had here that are not from Barbados that have come here, starting with one holiday, and then thinking, this is a good market to make some money in if I want to be a developer. So again, that speaks to the integrity of the market. It's a very robust real estate market.
I would like to say we should play not a game, but like a little bit of a, let's say we have a client and they've got 3 numbers. So they're 3 separate clients, and I'm going to give you a budget, and then I want you to give me an idea of maybe what they could get or what area they could be in, right? So if I have a client and they've got $2 million, what do you think you could curate and shortlist for them, and where would that be?
Bijou, new build, off plan. I think that'll probably be your best bet. Or somewhere like Greentails, more inland, 4 beds, private villa. Or something on Westmoreland, Mahogany Heights, 4 beds, townhouse.
Wow,
all
amazing.
Of those.
All beautiful locations.
So you've got one
They're all
opposite
on
the
West
beach,
Coast.
one inland in a gated community, and one on a golf estate.
Okay, so now client has $6 million. What sort of space and what can they get for that here?
$6 million, probably get you a smaller house and a small plot on the beach, say about 5,500 square foot and about 8,000 square foot of land. Get you a really nice penthouse at say Pendry or St. Peter's Bay. Could get you a nice house on Sandy Lane Estate, like Castle Parra, which we're going to take a look at later on this afternoon. So that would be your $6 million range.
Okay. Maybe I'm controlling a fund, or I'm an ultra high net worth individual, and I'm like, I've got about between $15 and $25 million. Where are we going now?
That's easy, 1 beachlands all day long. Yeah, 6 bedrooms on the beach, 12,000 square foot on almost 1 acre of land in the middle of Holetown, which turns circa $2.5 to $3 million a year in rental revenue. That's exactly what I would buy if I were a hedge fund manager.
Okay, so I have a client who's a developer, and they've developed in the UK only, and they want to come to Barbados and they want to look at a plot of land. How much can we assist them, not only in the location of the plot, but as a business, what can we assist them with more than just
Everything.
locating?
Site acquisition, planning permission, introduction to architects, builders, QSs, project managers. We have been involved in some of the most expensive residential luxury developments from ground up, both single dwelling and mixed use. So 25 years in the business, it does come with a level of experience and knowing who to use and who to work with. Obviously, reputation and credibility are very important. So, but you don't know until you've worked with someone. So we've worked with all the best architects, all the best contractors. We know how to pull together the financing as well, depending on the scale of the project and depending on what the objectives are. Are you developing for personal use? Or are you developing to move on? And also the size and scale. Is it 4 houses or 40 apartments? So these are conversations that we can certainly sit down and have from a very educated perspective, having been through this several times, knowing what works. So like, first step is, what is your objective? Why are you wanting to develop here? What is your timeline to see a return on your investment? And that really are those are the 2 main questions. How much are you willing to invest? And what's your timeline to see a return? And then based on that, we can either say, well, look, renovation job, capex in, get your money back out in 6 months. Or if you're looking to go bigger and stay in longer, we can look at joint venture opportunities with existing property owners and landholders. Or we can help advise you in finding the right sites in the right locations and developing the right type of property based on what the market's looking for.
So I'm consulting a lot at the moment with developers on branded residences and wellness developments. What would you say the appetite in Barbados is right now for branded residences?
It's huge and untapped. 100%. I mean,
That just made me very excited. It's a really good feeling to know that there is a country that is absolutely ripe for branded development,
Yeah.
and it's untapped. It has the infrastructure. It has everything ready to receive.
well, it's coming.
It's coming.
It's already here.
Yeah,
You know,
it's coming.
Pendry
Yeah.
is the first official branded residence. I think the one thing that's made Barbados stand out and very, very different from most islands and probably most countries is the fact that we have actually manufactured our own brands.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
like Sandy Lane is a brand in itself.
of course.
You know, Westmoreland has become a brand in itself.
Yeah.
They're world renowned.
Mhm.
Chefette Fast Food is a brand in itself.
Yeah. Seen
But-
2 of those
yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah, there's 75 of them on the island. But you know, it's you know, for a long time we didn't see the need, or you know, as an island, we didn't
Yeah.
need. Barbados did not need branded residences, but now we've got the demand because people know what they're getting,
Yeah.
and also B, it's good to kind of like start looking at bringing brands that are going to fit in well with Barbados.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
You know, so Pendry is a very good brand. Amman is a very good brand. Four Seasons is a good brand. You know, and what I'll say to you is that they're well on way.
Yeah,
For
absolutely.
sure.
We've got the new Royalton here as well.
Six Senses,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
But high end. You know,
High end, yes. Yeah, so
very much high end. And I think, you know, again, you know, if we're gonna let's be honest. You know, we're not arrogant enough to say that it's Barbados and Barbados only. We're the best. We do have competition. You know, it's not like 30 years ago or even 20 years ago, or 20 years ago, where we were probably the only Eastern Caribbean island with an international airport
yeah.
and Airlift coming out. You know, the UK, US, and Canada on a daily
Actually,
basis.
we should talk about Airlift, because that is a really good reason for investing in Barbados. The direct flights that come here are comprehensive, aren't they? I mean, there's a lot of direct flights from, you've got the UK, you've got Miami, New York.
Yeah,
You've-
multiple out of the US. You know, it's very, very easy to get in and out of Barbados, and always has been the case. You know, and that's why we've got a very developed tourism product here. You know, because people traveling, if you're getting a certain amount of time off for holiday, you're not going to want to have waste time traveling.
No,
You know, you can get on a plane and get there direct, and that's
absolutely.
it. And so that's been one of the biggest driving factors for people coming here. But you know, of course, we have other islands as well,
Yeah.
where they too can offer the same. And of course, they've got, you know, governments that want to leave a legacy, and you know, they're going to be inviting, you know, the likes of branded residences as well. So we can't say, oh, well, we've got Sandy Lane and we've got the Cliff and we've got Royal Westmoreland.
Yeah.
You know, we have to start thinking a bit further beyond that. And why not? You know, it just brings more. It just increases the market share and it brings more people here.
So as a family office thinking about advising their client about where to deploy their capital, Barbados is a really good option from an investment point of view, but also thinking about legacy planning, so family planning into the future. So maybe we could talk a little bit about the benefits of investing in Barbados, maybe for the first time as a family office, and what that really means to somebody. Like, what are the benefits of investing in Barbados real
No
estate?
inheritance tax.
That's a very good one for legacy planning.
Yeah, no inheritance tax to begin with.
Yeah.
And it's also a very safe and secure marketplace. It's very clearly defined. It's a lot less speculative than some of the other islands. So, you know, if you're looking, and yeah, there's still some opportunity for distressed opportunities. I mean, there's always something that could be made better. You know, in terms of some of the hotels are old and dated, and you know, the hedge funds love to get a deal on a hotel. So right now, it seems to be the thing to do right now with the hedge funds. They're looking at hotel acquisitions. It's a recurring revenue model, and that's why you're seeing more of them going up. So the reasons why a hedge fund, I mean, look, tax is a big driver.
Yeah.
You know, the corporate tax structure, the no inheritance, the no capital gains, etc. And also, you know, if you're going to be getting into hotels, you're getting into tourism, you're getting into a market where tourism has historically been fantastic, year on year, for a very, very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about culture and lifestyle, we're kind of in the midst of crop over here, so celebrating the end of the sugar cane crop, a really great, beautiful cultural celebration, and we've been seeing different things happening across the island and street parties and, you know, a carnival atmosphere. Cuisine and eating out and the whole food and beverage side of the island is really big. So let's talk about the different restaurants that people would know about or maybe would love to hear about in Barbados.
How much time do you have?
Yeah, a long time. We could be here literally all day talking about it, couldn't we?
The beauty about Barbados is that you can have, you know, you can go to Oistins fish fry and have, you know, a very simple, you know.
There's a party behind us right now as we talk about culture and lifestyle.
Yeah, that's typically how it goes, especially this time of year. No, like, I mean, you can have a, yeah, you can have as little or as much as you want, really.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, Oistins fish fry or, you know, Baxter's Road.
Did Oistins fish fry last Friday, I have to say. Have had some spectacular food on this island for the last 3 weeks. It's difficult to say no, I have to say.
Yes.
Every single cuisine you could imagine, but the local Bajan cuisine is just beautiful. Oh, well, apart from the national dish, which I have to say that's just a personal preference, but the pickles on top were amazing.
Yeah, I know.
The sweet potato was incredible.
So, places like Seashed, La Cabane, the Cliff,
Yeah.
Fish Pot, the Tides,
QP.
QP steak is amazing. I love that.
Tides curry is incredible.
Yes.
The coconut coated prawns are amazing.
Yes.
Larry Rogers chowder is incredible.
Yeah, there are many. There are many. And
Yeah.
you know, it depends on how you feel and what you want. If you just want to be casual, you can be casual. If you want to get dressed and go and have a night out, you can do that as well.
Yeah.
If you want to have a bit of a bite to eat before going out on the town, you can do that too.
Do you know what it is? It's luxury understated. Like that's an equalizer. It feels like no one gives a hoot
No.
who you are, what you do, where you're from. There's one thing that brings us all together, and that is
Rum.
being is rum. It's Mount Gay rum, XO. But actually, it's the love of
Yes.
being in a place that makes you feel whole and welcome and at peace and just really, you know, at one with the culture here. There's a heartbeat to this country
Totally.
that when you come, you step in line with and
Yeah.
you feel really calm.
It's 100% spot on. I think, you know, what you said most importantly is no one cares what you have, where you come from. You know, when you're here in Barbados, everyone's here for one reason, that's to have a great time and to share good experiences.
Yeah.
And it's not about trying to prove a point, you know, and the honest truth is, I mean, look, we have some clients that show up to houses in, you know, flip-flops and shorts and a shirt, and they'll spend 30 million. You'd never know it.
Yeah.
It's the beauty about this island.
I love it. It's
Yeah.
like, how do you feel most comfortable? That's how you should present yourself, because at the end of the day, you've not come to
But imagine
impress
how much-
anybody. There's no
Yeah.
one to impress. You come and
But it's
and
very stress-free.
This is it.
It's stress-free.
It's so stress-free.
I mean, there's some places that I've traveled to in the world, and you're more concerned about, you know, how do I look and present when I get out the door, rather than, oh my God, I can't wait to go and have a good time.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, it's an effort to get dressed, because really you just want to be in your swimming costume, and that's how I've spent the last 3 weeks, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I think that's the great thing, is it just feels like you come and you just are feeling decompressed. And actually that brings me on to buying a second home is what we used to talk about when investing in property in another country. Now this is coming to something that's really important with the global economy and just what's happening in the world, again, in uncertainty. What we feel is that when you have some money that you think you need to invest, it's either stocks or shares or savings or, you know, putting it in the bank or investing in a business. And then you start to think, well, real estate's always been very good. And so now let's think about investing somewhere else. But actually there's another layer that's coming in now with that uncertainty. And it's like, how do we create, we've talked about this before, a second life? Because then what it is like whatever happens, you've got this fail-safe plan that you already love.
Yeah, and
you already know and love it. You've come, you've experienced it, and you're like, not so bad if I have to come here and live here forever.
It's not really becoming a fallback option anymore.
Yeah.
In some cases, it's becoming the number one option.
Yeah.
It's actually been a flip. People that have looked at Barbados and said, let's have a bolt hole there in case, for whatever reason, whether it's retirement later on in life or, a plan B option. Now it's becoming the number one option, and country of residence is becoming the,
It's true. I had that conversation literally on Monday with a couple that live here only 3 months of the year. And they normally, or have come previously in like Christmas, Easter, in the busier times here in Barbados. So this time they've come May, June, the shoulder season, quieter, a time to really experience the country where it's quieter, the weather's incredible all year round. So they feel like they're getting a bit of the best of Barbados for them. They prefer it quieter. So now what they've said is, well, I love it when it's busy because it's got this real busy vibe to it, but I love that shoulder season of May, June.
Yes.
So now they're going, that means we're going to be spending more time in Barbados than we would in the UK. And so that's exactly what's happening. The more time you spend here, the more you realize that you can shift your life here.
Yes, and so it's interesting because Barbados was considered to be the bolt hole location, but I'll keep my primary residence wherever, US, UK, Canada, wherever that is. Now it's kind of like, well, I want to leave those countries in some cases for tax reasons, have a bolt hole there and have our main residence in Barbados. Yeah, and so, it's an interesting kind of evolution, if you want to call it that. Where it might be of interest to you in branded residences, but we're gearing up to launch the Nobu in Manchester, where you can have an apartment there for like 800k sterling. So help me sell some of those to the clients that want to leave the UK and come here and have their primary residence there, but that is a trend.
Absolutely. For our Canadian clients that are looking to come out of Canada and invest in the Caribbean, Barbados is a great option for them.
It's nice and warm.
It's very warm.
That's usually that's like 90% the reason why the Canadians come here.
They come for this.
Yeah.
But from a like, let's just think about it from a an ease of coming here and living and working. Can they live and work easy? Is it an easy acquisition for them? And is it a good investment?
It's no different to someone coming from the UK, other than the time it takes to get here. It's a 4.5 hour flight from Toronto to Barbados. But the acquisition process and the tax implications are all the same. The only thing that, there's still no capital gains tax applicable as well, and likewise the inheritance tax remains the same. So it's not too dissimilar to any other, any other demographic investing in Barbados. Barbados has had a long-standing relationship with Canada because of our double tax-backed treaties. So since the late 1970s, we've had Canadians investing here. All the major Canadian banks are here: Scotia Bank, RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, that kind of speaks to the relationship that Barbados has had with Canada, and that's not showing any signs of changing, but probably becoming more enhanced, because I think there are a lot of people with the ability to, a lot of wealthy people in Canada, they have options. They don't need to be in a country where it's pretty cold, and a few other things that might make people leave. So Barbados sits pretty high on the radar. What Barbados has not been is very popular with the US markets, and not for any other reason other than Bahamas is so accessible and it's a lot closer, and most Americans will tend to go to the Bahamas because of that. But that's fine. I think most Americans that come to Barbados, when they do visit, they'll come back. It's just they don't like to travel that bit further. So that's the only reason why we don't have as many Americans that are investing here, but we're seeing a slight trend in more people
Sure.
definitely visiting.
So talking to our East Coast clients that love to invest previously in like Palm Beach, Hamptons, maybe that's a generational thing, and now we're saying, well, actually the Eastern Caribbean is really where it's at. You know, the investment that's coming here and the infrastructure that's been built here and the uplift you're getting from the property, this is where to come, let alone the lifestyle. How easy is it for somebody from the US to come and buy here?
Very simple. First of all, there's no restriction on foreign buyers in Barbados, none whatsoever. No requirement for any alien landholding licenses. No extra cost associated, like for example stamp duty, transfer tax, broker fees. The only costs you will have it will be your legal costs, between 1 to 2% of purchase price, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Process in terms of timeline takes about 3 months. So offer made, offer accepted, exchange of contracts, that typically can happen within 4 to 6 weeks.
You could stay here for that whole period of time.
If
which
you
I
wanted
suggest.
to, yes, 100%. And then between exchange of contracts and completions, it's another 6 to 8 weeks. So the whole process takes about 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So within 3 months, if you come here in September or October, you could be in your new home by December, January for Christmas. So it's pretty straightforward and relatively quick.
And it feels so comfortable here, being a US citizen living here in Barbados. Obviously, you've got no language barrier.
No.
You've got 2 Barbados dollars.
Our
Barbados
currency
dollars.
is pegged to the US dollar 2 to 1, always has been.
It's
So it's
great.
super straightforward.
Yeah.
Something that we take for granted. When you travel to another country, you're always trying to get your xe.com out
That's
and
it.
figure out how much am I spending. But no, it's very simple for
Yeah.
people in the States, definitely.
That's great. So running the private client group of Nest Seekers International, based in London, but having a jurisdiction, if you like, of covering the whole of Eastern Caribbean, for me it's really important that I build relationships, as you know, based on trust and having people on the ground in these countries that we recommend investing in. So working with you, Chris, here in Barbados has been something that's really allowed our business to not only grow and flourish, but to give confidence to our clients across Europe and in America. So how do you feel it's been working with Nest Seekers and the private client group, being able to, promote Barbados to them?
Well, it's been a very complementary kind of relationship. I think what you guys do from a marketing perspective, the relationships that you've built, the trust that you've built with your clients, the access to your database and network, and just the overall relationships, that's great.
Yeah.
More importantly for me, though, is the approach and the personalized service and the understanding and knowing your clients that well, and the quality of clients that you bring to the table. That for me is most interesting. And of course, all of that underpinned by an incredible element of trust, the ability to have a conversation and brainstorm and come up with ideas on how we can make people feel confident and comfortable to invest here with us. And the synergy is great because people know you, they trust you, and then you put them in touch with me, they get to know me, they get to trust me based on my experience and knowledge on the ground, so to speak. So it's kind of, you get the absolute best of both worlds. So if you're looking to buy a property, it's kind of like, okay, well, this is Chris, this is who I work with, that's 50% of the battle won, right? If you're looking to list property, that's where it gets even more interesting, because a lot of clients that want to sell their house with One Caribbean Estates, yes, most of them will know who we are, given track record and time in the market, etc. But even if they know who we are, they might think, oh well, are we missing a trick here by not getting that international exposure? And obviously through Nest Seekers private client group, we are able to demonstrate that we can have access to markets globally.
Yeah.
And offices globally.
Absolutely.
And absolute best of the best marketing. I mean, I think I told you before, when I looked at Nest Seekers back in 2018, to this day I still think Nest Seekers has some of the best marketing I've seen. And so it's also not just a property specific company. You're looking at private jets and private yachts, and it blends in really nicely with what we're selling, because we're not just selling bricks and mortar. I mean, this is beautiful and all that, but we're selling a lifestyle.
Yeah, it is a lifestyle.
And I think that you guys speak to that really, really well, and
Yeah.
that's also why I enjoy working with the company, and of course, Claudia, I really enjoy working with you.
Well, thank you. And I'm glad
So-
because I enjoy working with you too, because for me, my relationships with my clients are only built on trust. For me, obviously the private client group is as it is. It's about having a select group of clients where we've really got to understand what it is that they want, what it is that they need. And it's not just property, it is a lifestyle. And we can service all those needs, whether it is yachts, jets, property. Importantly, they trust us. And I trust you, you trust me. We can service their needs here in Barbados and across the Eastern Caribbean. And I think we've got a lot to look forward to. And I really appreciate and I value the partnership that we've got together.
As do I.
So
I'm
here's
very
to the
much
future.
looking forward to it.